This is going to be a video on how to work a tubular cast on in the round. We're going to need a crochet hook, some waste yarn, or working yarn, and because I'm working in the round, I'm going to do it over two 24-inch needles. So I have two circular needles here. You could do it on magic loop or DP ends as well, but for this example, I'm going to use the two 24-inch needles. So when you're casting on using this method, we're going to start by working a provisional cast on with the crochet method. When this particular method for tubular cast on, we're only going to need to cast on half the number of the total number of stitches that we're going to need. So for example, if we needed 48 stitches on our cast on, we would work 24 stitches with the crocheted cast on. I'm just going to do 20 in this situation so that it moves along a little faster and we can see what's happening. So you start with your provisional yarn and one of your knitting needles and the crochet hook. We're going to make a slip knot in the provisional yarn. So you want your provisional yarn to be smooth so that it's easy to pull out in the end. Don't use something that's really fuzzy. That won't work well. So we make a slip knot, put it on the crochet hook, and that'll pull out later. Then I make just a couple of chain stitches, regular crochet chain to get started. Then we're going to start by placing the yarn underneath the knitting needle. We have the knitting needle on top of the yarn, the crochet hook down here. You reach across the knitting needle and grab the yarn and pull it through. Now it doesn't matter whether you pull it through if you grab it this way or if you grab it this way, it doesn't matter. It produces the same results for this purpose. So now we have one stitch on our knitting needle. Take the yarn to the back, around the back of the knitting needle, bring the crochet hook across the front, and grab the yarn and pull it through again. Now we have two. I'm going to do this 20 times. It doesn't matter if they're too loose or too tight, these are going to come out in the end. That's why it's called a provisional cast on. It's just temporary. Always taking the provisional yarn to the back, around the back of the needle, the crochet hook across the front, grab the yarn, pull it through. Now I have 19. My goal was to have 20. So I'm going to go ahead and do the very last one. Now I have 20. Now some people will tell you when you're doing a crocheted cast on to take this last loop and put it over the tip of the needle. Do not do that. You won't be able to remove it later. It causes a problem. So just crochet a couple chains here, pull it through, trim, cut the end here, pull that end through the loop, not real tight, you just want to keep it from coming out. Now we've got our 20 provisional stitches on here, and I'm going to divide half of them onto the other knitting needle. So I have my two circulars. They're going to have 10 on each needle. And I'm slipping them just point to point. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 on each needle. 10 and 10. So over here, now this yarn is not going to be our working yarn. It's just temporarily on here to hold the stitches. Now we're going to start with our working yarn. That's going to be the white yarn. So this is where we actually start the tubular cast on. And what we're going to do is we're going to knit into the stitch, and then we're going to yarn over. Then knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, whoops, knit, yarn over, knit. So we're doubling our stitches here. Now we're going to have twice as many stitches, which is the count that we wanted to have to begin with. Remember, we just cast on half of our total number. Now when we get to the last stitch on this needle, we have to make our knit, and we need to make a yarn over. So go ahead and make the yarn over. If you're working on 2 circulars, you're going to hold that over that needle, pull your needle through, bring the other needle up into action, grab the other end of that needle. We've got the yarn over right there, and we're going to knit 1 yarn over across this needle. One more left. This is the last one, and we've got to remember to make that yarn over. Now we have 40 stitches on here instead of the 20 provisional cast on. Here's our stitches. We've got 20 on each needle. We're going to move, this is where we put our the last stitch on, which is the yarn over right there. We're going to make our next stitch right over here, so we've got to pull this needle up into action, pull this one onto the cable, pull this one into action, with our working yarn. Now we're going to do our first round of the tubular knitting. We're going to knit the first stitch and pull it tight. It's okay if this tails here, we're going to tighten it. Pull it tight with the other needle here. It's kind of all sloppy right now, but it'll come together. Bring the yarn to the front. Slip the yarn over, purlwise, tip to tip. Take the yarn to the back, knit the knit stitch. Bring the yarn to the front, slip the yarn over. Each one of these yarn overs in the next round will become a purl stitch. So you knit one, bring the yarn to the front, slip one, bring the yarn to the back, knit one, bring the yarn to the front, slip one, bring the yarn to the back, knit one, and so on until you come to the end of the round. Okay, we finished that first round. Now we're ready to start the second round. This is a 2-round pattern. So that was round 1. Round 1, we knit 1, bring the yarn forward, slip 1. Take the yarn to the back, knit 1, bring the yarn forward, slip 1. This round we'll do the opposite. With the yarn in the back, we will slip the previously knit stitch, just slip it straight over. Do not slip it knitwise. Bring the yarn to the front, purl 1. Take the yarn to the back, slip 1. Bring the yarn to the front, purl 1. Take the yarn to the back, slip 1. And see, I'm slipping point to point. I'm not slipping knitwise, and you're going to do that to the end of the round. Now we have completed round 1 and round 2, and we've got our stitches on our needles ready to start round 3. Round 3 is the same as round 1, so we're just repeating round 1, which means we're knitting the first stitch, bring the yarn forward, slip the second stitch. Take the yarn to the back, knit, forward, slip, knit, forward, slip, knit, forward, slip, until we come to the end of the round again. And this is the beginning of the 4th round. This is the round that's same as round 2, so we slip the first stitch straight over with the yarn in the back, bring the yarn forward, purl 1, yarn back, slip 1, yarn forward, purl 1, yarn back, slip 1, yarn forward, purl 1, and so on to the end of the round. So here we are, we've finished the tubular portion of the tubular cast on, and at this point you can decide whether you want to do knit 1, purl 1 ribbing, which I have another video showing that, or knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, which I'm going to show in this video. In order to successfully do knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, you will need to make sure you have a multiple of 4 stitches on here, and I have 40, so that will work fine. So you're going to start out, you can see the sequence of the stitches on here. We have a knit, and then a purl, knit, purl, etc. So we want to change this to 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. And the way we do that is we knit the first stitch. And now our next knit stitch isn't until over here. This one's a purl. It's in the way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to transpose those positions. I'm going to slip my right needle into the knit stitch, and I'm pinching all the stitches with my thumb and my finger. I'm pulling the left needle out and putting it back in the purl stitch. Then I'll bring the knit stitch over here, and I'll knit. Now because we just moved that purl, now we have 2 purls in a row, which is absolutely perfect, what we want. So we're going to purl 2. Now we come up with our knit purl again, so we knit the first of the 4. We transpose the next 2, just slip it into the knit, pull the left needle out of the purl and put it back in, and then we're going to knit, and then purl, purl, then we've got the first knit of the next 4, we knit, transpose the next 2 positions, and etc. all the way around. So I'm going to finish the round, and then I'm going to work a couple of rows in knit 2, purl 2 ribbing and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I finished transposing the stitches, and then I worked 2 rounds, maybe 3, in knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. We still have our crochet chain attached on the bottom here, which is constricting the bottom. We're going to release that now and see what it looks like. So you want to undo the last chain stitch, and you're just going to slide that out. It'll just pull right out. If you used slippery yarn, if you use fuzzy yarn, it'll catch. It should just come right out. Undo your slip knot. That comes out, and now we can look at this. Here we have knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. It rolls right over the edge. Looks really pretty. And there you have it.